I would now like to introduce Murray McGilvery, our university orator, who will deliver the citation for our honorary degree recipient.
William Pulleyblank, please stand. Eminent Chancellor, Madam President, members of the Senate and the Board of Governors, fellow faculty, honored guests, graduands. We celebrate today one of our own who has risen to great heights in science and engineering and who honors us today by accepting our degree. William Pulleyblank was an undergraduate in mathematics when the University of Calgary became a separate institution in 1966. He was a slightly daunting undergraduate, already giving a course in the programming language Fortran that was attended by graduate students and professors. After a Calgary MSc and a PhD from Waterloo, he returned to the University of Calgary as a professor and helped found the Department of Computer Science. His research in optimization got him recruited first back to Waterloo in 1981, where he became CP NSERC Chair of Optimization and Computer Applications, then to IBM's T.J. Watson Research Center in 1990, where he quickly rose to be director, first of the Mathematical Sciences Department, then of the Deep Computing Institute. The Deep Computing Institute was founded for intensive development of supercomputer technology after the mind-blowing tournament success of IBM's Deep Blue against world chess champion Garry Kasparov, who, it turned out, was only human. Its flagship achievement was the Blue Gene series of supercomputers, beginning with Blue Gene L, developed by the Pulleyblank team. Supercomputers have been applied to some of the most complex real-world problems, such as weather forecasting, financial prediction, and genomic analysis. Blue Gene's name indicates that its purpose was directed towards genomics and protein folding analysis, but in the world of competitive supercomputer development, power and speed are most important. Blue Gene L was the top-ranked supercomputer in the world from November 2004 to July 2008. To put that achievement in context, that was the longest time a single machine has reigned in the last 34 years. The typical length of time at the top of the heap is a year or less. Now a professor of operations research at the United States Military Academy in West Point, after time as an IBM vice president, Bill Pulleyblank has returned to the classroom to continue to mold the next generation of computer scientists. Eminent Chancellor, let us celebrate the career of one of the University of Calgary's most successful graduate scientists and computer engineers. On behalf of the Senate and the university, I invite you to invest William Pulleyblank with the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
I admit you, William Pulleyblank, to the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa and grant you all the rights and privileges, powers and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Here's your degree.
Chancellor Thirsk, President Cannon, faculty, staff, and other members of the university community, graduands, parents, friends, families. Congratulations to my fellow members of the class of 2017. You're graduates of a great university. For me, it is an enormous pleasure to be coming back here, returning to where my scientific career started 52 years ago. Now, some of you were not around in 1965 when I started at the University of Alberta at Calgary, but I will tell you it was somewhat smaller than it is now. It's become a thriving global center of scholarship, education, and applications. Yesterday, I was able to take a stroll around the campus and see that most of the original buildings are still here, but they've been renovated, and there are some new buildings that you've probably seen. May I ask you a question? Were any of you born in 1965 or later? Just put your hands up. Okay, so there are a few that may be having difficulty in relating to what this means. Our 5-year-old grandson, Devon, provided me with a way to help explain it to you, which I hope you'll find helpful. He's obsessed with all things having to do with space. Chancellor Thirsk. That's outer space. Last month, Devon attended a talk in Vancouver given by Chris Hadfield, the celebrated fellow astronaut of our Chancellor. I spoke to Devon and said, "Devon, what had you learned?" And he said, and I am going to quote now, "A long time ago, in 1968, the Earth and the Moon were all together. And then there was a big collision, and the Moon split off from the Earth." Are you aware, Chancellor, what your colleagues are telling these kids? So if that's 68, 65 was a long time ago. I'm going to cover 3 things today. I'm first of all going to try and explain to you people why predicting the future is very hard, but why it still matters to try and do it. Having said that, I'm going to give you 2 bold predictions, and then, of course, who can resist it? I'll give you some graduation counseling. They should stay for this, I think, shouldn't they? Yeah, okay, good. Yogi Berra, the Hall of Fame catcher for the New York Yankees, famously said, "It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future." Actually, to be honest, making predictions is not hard. People do it all the time. What is hard is making predictions that are accurate. Why is this so hard? The first time I was in Israel, I asked an Israeli friend, and I just said, "Hey, how accurate are your weather forecasts here?" And he said, "They're very good, 99% accurate." Now, I knew something about weather forecasting, and I was a little skeptical. I said, "Come on, how can you do that?" And he said, "It's easy. Every day someone asks me, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? I say, like today. I'm only wrong 2 days out of the year. So 99% of the time I'm right." You see, predicting the future is easy if today is like yesterday and tomorrow is like today. But that isn't what happens. I'm going to give you an example. From 1950 to 2015, so that's 1950, 2015, 55 years, Canada's population increased by a factor of 2.5. This is the mathematics part of the talk for the math majors. The population of the United States only doubled in that time. In 1950, the population of Florida was 2.8 million. By 2015, it was 20 million. That's 7 times larger. What happened? It was not totally due to Canadian snowbirds. According to Dr. Judy Genshaft, who is the president of South Florida University, it was due to a single scientific invention, and that was the existence of, or the creation of, low-cost air conditioning. Once that was invented, it became tolerable, and some could say even desirable, to live in Florida 12 months out of the year. Until that time, it wasn't populated. The scientists and engineers who were working on refrigeration did not foresee that would result in Florida becoming the third largest state in the United States, and so becoming the third most important political unit. But now for the fearless predictions. IBM annually publishes a list they call 5 in 5, which are 5 innovations which they feel will have effect on our lives within 5 years. I'm going to select 2. I want to talk to you about 2 that are on the current list. The first is what's called lab on a chip. Now, early detection of disease is crucial. In most cases, the earlier a disease is diagnosed, the more likely it is to be cured or well controlled. However, diseases like cancer, Parkinson's can be very difficult to detect. They're often present in our bodies long before symptoms appear. But information about the state of our health can be extracted from the bioparticles, the tiny bioparticles in bodily fluids such as saliva, tear, blood, and sweat. A single silicon chip will be able to perform the analysis that today would be carried out in a full-scale biochemistry lab. These medical labs on a chip will serve as nanotech detectives, tracing invisible clues in our body and letting us know immediately if we have reason to see a doctor. These chips will be packaged in handheld devices, allowing these biomarkers to be quickly detected and processed. The results can be sent securely into the cloud and combined with real-time health data from other devices like smartwatches and activity trackers, and then analyzed using AI for insights. This will give an in-depth view of our health, alert us to the first signs of trouble, which will help us to combat these diseases before they progress. Here's the second. Macroscopes will help us understand Earth's complexity in infinite detail. Are there any questions? What's a macroscope? Well, what's a microscope? It's something that lets you look at things that are very small. Agree? What's a telescope? It's something that lets you look at something that's far away. A macroscope is a system of software and algorithms that combines and brings together all of Earth's complex data to analyze it by space and time for meaning. Macroscope technology will help us attack some of the most fundamental problems that we face, such as the availability of food, water, and energy. A new generation of farmers will have insights to help them determine the right crop choices, where to plant them, and how to produce optimal yields while conserving precious water supplies. These are important and difficult decisions. Sensors and drone technology can measure the condition of soil itself. Timing of planting can depend on whether there will be a late frost. High-precision weather forecasting can help us decide whether when the frost is going to come. They can also help us predict whether it will be a wet or dry growing season, so whether irrigation is needed. Are there new variations of plants that would be better suited to the upcoming season's conditions? Can we predict grain prices for alternative crops by the end of the season? And as the season progresses, are there actions that we should take to protect the crops? When and by how much should we fertilize? What's the right time to harvest? In some cases, a delay is good. In other cases, delay is disastrous. How should we take into account predictions of global grain prices when we're deciding when to harvest? Will possible political decisions, like trade embargoes, affect our decision? If all these diverse sources of data can be integrated and analyzed in a way that enable better decisions to be made by the farmer, not only will farming be more successful, but the world's food supply will increase. And that's what macroscopes are about, combining data from many different sources to enable better decisions to be made. Now, many of you will face challenges in your scientific careers. They're going to be complex, they're going to be multidisciplinary, but their solutions will improve life on our planet in a sustainable fashion. Leaders in these activities will understand a broad range of technology and methods and be experts in some of these, and will be able to discover how to apply them to unexpected and exciting problems in a rapidly changing world. These are truly very interesting times to be a graduate in mathematics and sciences. Finally, here are my recommendations for your next steps. Number one, and I think this syncs very much with what the Chancellor said, think of 3 people whom you should contact and thank you for helping you get to this point. When I was at your stage, they included my high school math teacher, Professor Richard Guy, who not only is here today, but also did celebrate his 100th birthday last September 30th. And if I may, I will tell you that Professor Richard Guy was in that Fortran course that I taught. During the course, he made a wager with me that he could write his first computer program and it would work flawlessly the first time. With my experience, I knew that was impossible. I was happy to take on the bet. I lost 20 cups of coffee to Professor Guy. He told me that as of yesterday, this still is the last computer program that he's ever written. And the third was my father, who was a high school teacher and who taught me mathematical induction when he and I were doing the dishes after dinner. Think of who those people are and send each of them a short thank you note or a postcard or a text. Just thank them for getting you to this point. Because as the Chancellor said, we don't get here alone. Now here's the second. Think of a few people whom you can look to now as mentors as you go to this next stage of your career. They can form the nucleus of your personal advisory board and stay in touch with these people as your career develops. You'll find it very helpful to have these contacts you can depend on. Ask them if they're willing to play this role. I'm willing to bet that they'll say yes. And the third thing, look for people as your careers develop who you will be mentors to, because you've already come a long way and there are going to be people looking up to you. Welcome these people and do what you can to help them on their way. Bill Gates is well known for many quotations which he denies making. Here is one that he acknowledges. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. But perhaps, to finish, we should remind ourselves of the quotation from the Notebook of Lazarus Long by Robert Heinlein. Always listen to experts. They will tell you what cannot be done and why. Then do it. Congratulations on reaching today, and enjoy the exciting careers which lie ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pulleyblank, for accepting this honorary degree. It's actually an honor for us, the University of Calgary, to confer it. You are a role model for your leadership at the University of Calgary, at IBM, and at the U.S. Military Academy, and you're an inspiration to all of us for your stellar achievements in computer science. And thank you for your insightful and interesting words to the graduates.